Welcome back to Grit Gym, guys. We have a guest today, Tony Woods, coming to us from Las Vegas. This is going to be a good show. I'm really excited. I met Tony probably, what's it been like maybe 3 years ago. He's working on his business, working on becoming a better coach, a better trainer to help more people and to put out a real positive message. It was a very different, very interesting to get into a conversation with Tony because he's got a lot of different perspectives than me. For one, I'm not a dad yet. Tony is a dad. He's got 2 teenagers. He runs this gym in Las Vegas, and obviously a little bit of a different population than what we're doing. Tony, I have about in throwing distance, we have about 80,000 people. So in your area, there's just a couple more than that. But tell us a little bit about you, what you do, why you got into it, why you do it, what gets you fired up. Go for it.
Yeah. You know what? I think early on I kind of fell in love with fitness, but it was a process, and it started with sports. Like 4th grade, I think I was 4th grade. I was 9, 10 years old. And my dad signed me and my brother up for football, contact football. And, for me, I wasn't, I wasn't one of these rough and tumble kids. So I was kind of just kind of chill, kind of laid back. And, when you're growing up and all you hear is don't push, don't shove, don't do this. And it's of course, my brother and I roughhouse. But when I got out there, it was a different environment. And so my dad told me one thing. He says, you can't quit, but you got to finish the season. If you don't want to play next year, that's fine. But you're going the whole season. And so, it was a process, got a little bit better, got a little comfortable, kind of fell in love with the sport and stuck with it for the next, I stuck all the way through college, but I stuck with it. And by the time I get into high school, I've been playing for 6 years and I'm pretty decent, but I had this growth spurt. So 9th grade, I'm 5'11" and 125 pounds. So I was like a stick. So I'm I got to get in the weight room. So my dad comes through again. He gets me and my brother one of those weight benches with the sand weights. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. We had it in the garage. The basement, and started lifting so I could get a little bit bigger, so I could compete.
But that's what I'm talking about. The ones that they weren't you couldn't put a weight on one side without the other side flipping up.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was a lesson learned. Yeah. And so I for that year, it was just I was just getting in there, just in the basement every day. And I put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle, and I just kind of fell in love with it at that point. And over the next few years, it kind of just grew on me, and something that I knew was going to be a part of my life forever.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. That's actually really similar to me. I always wanted to be a big tough guy, but all of a sudden I hit a growth spurt, and I went from 5'10" to 6'2", but I only changed 10 pounds. I was 5'10", 135 pounds. That's obviously super skinny, and I shot up to 6'2", 145 pounds. I'm just a stick figure. So in football, I had to just come with all this tenacity and all this, just as much as I possibly had all the time. Well, the next year I came out, I gained 40 pounds over the course of that summer. I was eating 10, 20,000 calories a day, just lifting like a maniac. And I came out and I came in with that same tenacity, that same work ethic. And it was just what is this? This is awesome. This is the greatest thing. And that's the same thing. I know exactly what you mean there. I knew that lifting was just going to be a part of me. It was always going to be a thing because what it allowed you to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from there it kind of grew, and I get into college, and I honestly I went to a smaller school, and it was honestly I can tell you the truth, I kind of wanted to go somewhere I could still play football. So I went to a D3 school and played there. I really didn't know what I wanted to major in, and and then I figured it out. I figured I was going to be a PE teacher, and then I was going to coach football, and that was going to be the plan. And got the degree in health and physical education, and then from there, I moved back home to Seattle. This is where I'm from, Seattle. So I was going to college in Minnesota, moved back to Seattle. And I know right now I live in Vegas, 3 different climates, right? But so I moved back, and the YMCA is hiring. And so then, from there, I I basically become like a weight room attendant. I get certified as a trainer. I start training people, and I'm like, you know what? I am a PE teacher just for adults, and that's kind of what I've been doing, since.
Yeah, you really are too. Like in a different capacity, and probably a little bit more like seriousness, because like you pick up a 12-year-old or a 9-year-old, and you have them go through an FMS, and they're gonna ace it, right? Like 8-year-olds don't have movement problems. 45-year-olds got a lot of movement problems. They're just kind of like ticking time bombs on the injury scale. So it's a totally different world. So
Absolutely.
I really liked what your dad said too about like he's like, you can't quit. Yeah, like you're not a quitter. I'm not going to let you quit. He put that expectation on you, and he said, but if you don't want to go out next year, like what'd you learn? Like what went through your head then? Like what was kind of what have you taken with you? Because you got kids now. What is
Right.
all the lessons that come out of that?
You know what? It was basically that everything in life things don't just come to you easily, and as sometimes we forget that and we think like, wow, I can't swing this baseball bat. I can't, jump. I can't lift. I don't have the coordination. I don't know how to tackle somebody. And,
Yeah.
what I learned is that it takes time, because by the end of that season, like it grew on me, and he allowed me that chance to fail. He allowed me that chance to get up and to learn that lesson. And that's like a lesson, because like, honestly, as much as I love, sports, there's a lot of lessons that came along the way. And, like my dad was kind of like in the corner the whole time because he was an athlete. So he's like, he knew a lot of these things, and he was like really big on books and education and learning,
Oh, cool.
just outside of school, but just like reading books, and so that's kind of one of the things that I learned from that.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody ever said like you can't quit to me or anything like that, but I know that like I am almost like you take our personalities and you just like shift over. My mom and I are like the same person, like the way that we approach things and everything. Like, and I know that the value system that she has in her, like toughness is just such a huge thing to her. Like she's like this really warm, kind-hearted person, but like toughness and work ethic are such huge things. And one of the things that she always did is like never let me, like if I didn't like something, kind of like your dad's not letting you be the victim. My mom never let me be the victim. It's a really cool thing to do for your kids. But like in the society we live in today, it's kind of interesting because we almost like if you lose, you get a pat on the back. It's like no, like losing and failure and errors they should sting a little bit. Like disappointment's not necessarily a bad thing, and working for something is a really good thing. So I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know if I kind of took off with that and added my own little spice to it, but
no, absolutely, man. And that's kind of the stuff that like I'm trying to teach my kids, because
yeah.
when they're young, because it's like you teach them everything. Like you teach them how to walk, how to ride their bike. Now I'm teaching one of them how to drive a car. And the thing is yeah, it's you see all those failures they had. I mean, like my daughter now, it's like I remember like the first day we get in the car, we're in the parking lot, and clearly she's not good. She's going 5 miles an hour. I'm saying, hey, she can go 10 miles an hour. She won't go past 5, and which was probably a good thing, And there's
I mean, better than
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is like there's so many steps just before you can get on the residential street, before you can go 25. There's so many steps. And I had to remind her, I'm like, I know you don't remember this, but there was a day when I taught you how to ride the bike. Like at the old house, I taught you how to ride the bike, and you didn't want to lift your foot off. When we took your training wheels off, you thought you were going to fall over. And I said, just trust, like you're going to get it. And like, like we had to stop the session and come back like an hour later, and then she got it and she was good to go, and she just couldn't wait for her younger sister to learn, which she was like 3 years behind. But like the thing is like it's the same thing. We think that like, yeah, you just you drive the car, you get on the road, and all of a sudden you're on the freeway. It's like no, there's like she just got on the freeway, by the way, like a couple of weeks ago, and now she's hitting it, But it's like there were so many steps just to get out of the parking lot, just before you get on the 25 mile an hour. Then you get on like the arterial road and so forth. So, I think like life, there's a lot of journeys like that. And no matter how old we get, sometimes we forget, because I'm training people 40, 50 years old, and sometimes they forget. And it's like, hey, it's okay that you don't know how to do this exercise. Let's slow it down and let's take one step at a time.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like whenever you give, I try not to use the word regression with people anymore, just because of that. Like people are like, "What? I must not be good at it." They want to do that progression, but it's like, man, like if you just step back a little bit and you learn first, take the car out of park and put it into reverse, and then hold your foot on the brake while you're doing that. You know, like all the little steps, and then we build up skills until we're on the freeway, like you say. Like it's the same thing in anything. You're just learning the skill involved with it. And so like taking that regression back to the basic is sometimes like almost the entire show, with exercise.
Absolutely. But you know, like where we live right now, it's like we want everything fast. We want it now. We want it like the microwave's not fast enough. You know, like the drive-through is not fast enough. Like, you know, I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say like I don't eat fast food because I'm a coach, because it's like I do. And I remember we were in the line and this guy in front of me was just like laying on the horn for the person in front of him. He's like, "Come on, let's go. What's taking so long?" And I'm like, dude, like, do you realize like if you went home and tried to make this thing, like it would take you way longer to do that. And now you can't even wait 3 minutes to get your thing. And it's like, no wonder. It's like we want to progress. We want to, you know, because there's things out there that just happen, like internet, this conversation we're having, like, you know, it's just instantaneous, you know, and that's how things are. And sometimes it's okay. They just slow down, you know.
Not that much time ago, like we couldn't have done this live on Facebook a year ago,
right?
You know, if we go back 15 years, or I mean, when did Facebook came out? Facebook came out in 2005, I think it is. So we're going 12. Yeah, we go back 15 years, and I would have had to go travel to Vegas, and we would have had to sit down just to have this conversation. And now, like, I just walked in my office today, and
exactly.
walked into your office.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's a pretty wild world we're living in, but I really like what you said about your kids too, like setting that example, like, because they learn from you. Because this is one of those things where, like when parents are like, no, I can't be selfish. I can't put my exercise ahead of theirs. I can't eat before my kid. I can't put myself first. And I get it. Like in my head, I'm like, you say, like, parents will say, I'll do anything for my kids, and it's like, do you realize that if you're willing to say, I'll do anything for my kids, then you got to realize that you're the example, and that's the best lesson that you probably could have given them, was to go work out, was to eat healthy, because they are learning from you. You know, so like, I know that we kind of brushed over that what you said there, but I thought that's profound. That's huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, you know, that like, you know, I kind of learned that, like, you know, like you hear what someone says, but you also, like, more so it's like what they're doing, you know, that you're learning from. And so like my dad, like he was always a fit guy. Like, I mean, I remember like when like I said, he was an athlete, and like, you know, he track and field and football was his thing. And like, I remember he was coaching my brother's high school team. I was still in middle school, and he was coaching the team, and he gets out there to show them how to run a 40. And, you know, I mean, like they know how to run a 40, but he's like, hey guys, we're going to run the 40. And he gets out there, and he like takes off, and my dad was 43. He was still pretty fast. I think he ran like a 4.5 or 4.6 or something. And damn. Like, I think, yeah. And then like, I think he like smoked like most of the kids that were out there. And like, to me, like I was 12, 13 years old at that time. And I'm like, wow. I mean, and the thing that I learned that no one ever said, that he never said, is like, no, when you grow up, you better be like smoking fast. That wasn't the thing. It's like, no, take care of yourself. And I saw him do this on a regular basis. Like, he loved basketball, so he was in this league of these guys 40 and over. He was doing that. You know, like he helped me with conditioning that I needed, and it was just like he just stayed active, you know. And you know, and as you see, like a lot of like, you know, your friends' parents, it's like when they were getting to that age, 40, 50, it's like their bodies were kind of breaking down. And not only that, like fitness is one thing, but also like, you know, like I said, he was always reading like books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or just those timeless classics. He was reading these books, and I was always like highlighting stuff. And I'm just like, you know, I hated reading as a kid, but now it's like I'm doing the same thing, and my kids are seeing me do it, you know. So I know that like I hope they're getting something out of that, you know.
Yeah. Well, they have to. That's like, yeah, of course they are. They have to be like that's like. When people are like, I'm not getting any results, it's like, well, you're getting a result. You just might not be getting the result that you want. Like, you're always going to get a result.
Right.
Right. it's not the result that you want or not. So your kids are learning something from that. Like I had a really hard time reading. I don't really like putting the category of like attention deficit, dyslexia, and stuff like that. And it definitely wasn't something that held me back. I'm really glad that I had that obstacle, but I hated reading. It was such a difficult task for me. I am like that's like that bookshelf there. There's another one of those at the gym. That's like maybe a 4 books that, and another like maybe that stack are books that I lent out that never returned. So I like just an information junkie. So yeah, they have to be getting something from that. And I don't know. This kind of became a talk about parenting, but like I had the 2 parent. One was a farmer, and the other one was a nurse. So my mom very into exercise, always big on nutrition. My dad was just like, I don't give a shit. Like I'll drink a 6-pack, or I'll drink a half a gallon of chocolate milk, or I'll have like a plate of nachos with cheese on top, and never exercise. So like he had kind of an active job, so it made it. But I had the 2 opposite ends. So it's kind of interesting to see like all my siblings and who decided to stay in really good shape and who decided to kind of not. I didn't mean to implicate my siblings there, but it's kind of interesting though. It's really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you're picking up stuff, and I think like you don't just learn from the good qualities. It's like I'm not going to sit here and say that like like, oh yeah, my parents are awesome, because like yeah, I mean they're regular people, and it's like there's certain things that you learn. And it's like, well, I don't want to do that when I grow up too. So you learn from that side as well. And it's like, yeah, I want to do better. I want to do something different. I would do it differently. And so that you're learning, like, and I think that's the cool thing about learning is that, you can learn from something that was good or positive. You could learn from something that you felt was like a negative, and we're always learning, and, getting back to the thing about teaching my daughter about how to drive. It's like, I remember like she almost, or maybe she did run through a red light or something. I don't know what it was, but like, I'm like, okay, now you know what you did there. And it's like, what would you do next time? It's like, yeah, you make a mistake. You didn't run into anybody. You didn't get a ticket. It wasn't the best decision, but what are you going to do next time?
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Like when, like I actively say, don't ever apologize to me. Like I don't want the apology. I want to hear what you learned. If there was an actual error that was made, what'd you learn from it? Just like, but you just, yeah, I completely agree. And even like the stuff that kind of gets taken as negative, like there's almost always something good in that bad thing, I hear on a lot of times when people are coming into Grit Gym, it's like they just moved their parent to a nursing home, or they went to a clothing store and none of the clothes fit, and it was like a traumatic experience, or their parent died, or one of the friends had a heart attack. It's like something really traumatic. It's like, well, they're making positive out of it by getting their health in order. It's there's almost always some kind of good results. As I'm not trying to say that like you should wish for bad things in your life, but looking for the good in the bad situation is sometimes hard to do, and it's a very powerful thing.
No, absolutely. Like there, just speaking on that too, like, I think it was an audio or maybe it was a book. I don't know. It was Tony Robbins, and I love his stuff. And, one thing he was saying is like, when bad things happen or whatever it may be, you always ask yourself this question. It's like, well, what's good about this? What's good about this? And it's like, if you ask, well, what's good about this, then you start to look at, oh, well, I can learn this, or I can do this, or, but if you're just soaking up like, man, this was horrible, it's like you don't find any good in it. And sometimes there is good in it when you look at it, and there is a lesson to be learned, and there is a way that you can better yourself, and, like if you're a person that wants to take total responsibility, then you kind of have to look at it like that. It's like, what's good about this?
Yeah. And like ultimately, like if you take 100% of the responsibility for your life, then like you're the pilot of life. You're the driver. You're the nothing can happen to you anymore. It happens because of you.
Absolutely. Well said. Speaking of grit, like your gym, I love the name of your gym because like I really love grit, and like I'm sure you read the book Grit. I think it's Angela Duckworth, but that book, I mean, it just kind of sums it up. Like you're moving forward then you have a setback, you know, or you get knocked down or whatever it is. And then you get back up, you learn a lesson, you move forward. And that's how you get to the destination. It's not just like, you know, everything like life just gets out of your way and everything is a smooth path just because you decided to have a goal. Like people are still going to be like in your way. There's still going to be things that like don't want you to reach that goal. But, you know, if you're gritty, you know, then you can. And, you know, I don't know where I heard this or, you know, but they said that like grit, you know, is more important for your success than intelligence and talent. You know, and we see it in all areas. You know, we see like, you know, people that just like were just so gritty, like they, you know, like they just, you know, like Thomas Edison, for example, right? He failed over and over and over and over and over again to make a light bulb, right? We all know the story. And, you know, they asked him like, well, how'd you keep going? Like after you failed, you know, 999 times. He's like, I didn't fail 999 times. It was like a process that took that many steps. So he had a different mindset, you know, but if we realize, hey,
he found every way it couldn't be done. Something like that. I don't remember how it was. Yeah, it was a really good way of looking at it. It was like, just, I'm going to find it can't be done. And then I'll eliminate, you know, everything. Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah. But speaking on like, you know, total responsibility, you know, often it's real easy to say like, oh, I didn't do this because of that person. I didn't do it because of this person, you know, or because this thing happened to me or, you know, whatever. But it's like, you know, I didn't have the education, but like someone less educated than you is doing it just because they're willing to they're gritty and they're just doing it. Yeah. You know,
someone is winning with the card that with the same card or a lesser card than you were dealt. Like,
absolutely.
You know, like I got in a conversation one time with somebody and I just had to stop and I was like, at some point it just kind of came out this way, but it was like, if you believe that you're, what I was saying, I said socioeconomic, the only one I remember is socioeconomic class and a few other things. I was like, if you believe that is going to be the outcome of your fate in your life, then, or if you believe people are just, that's their fate because that's what they were born into, then I don't think that you believe in people. And it came out kind of like really like judgmental, but I meant it in a good way because like I have like a crazy like conviction of like believing in people. Like I believe anybody can rise from whatever situation they're in, no matter how bad. And sometimes like that obstacle, that thing that was really bad in your life, created, you know, you overcoming that obstacle created the grit and the courage and the guts it took to actually succeed in life and to keep going. I think we like to brush over the obstacle as if it's like a bad thing. And it's like a great thing to have that obstacle. Did you ever read Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell's?
I did years ago. Yeah.
When he's talking about I forget the guy's name, but he took like the top 50 IQs in the United States and he followed them for 30 years. And he thought that they were going to turn into these like outrageous, amazing inventors and change the world. And none of them did anything.
Right.
Like,
right.
They're not challenged in school because they were so smart. School was too easy and they kind of just, you know, didn't do much better. Yeah. Right. But like there's other people out there who have a terribly hard time with school. And school doesn't make sense to them, and they get bullied, and they get, you know, they had a harsh childhood, maybe, I don't know, and they become these outrageously amazing people. You know, like why? You know, like I think grit has probably a lot to do with that. I would imagine.
Absolutely, and it's like, you know, if you don't want to make the mistake, you don't allow yourself to make the mistake, then in turn you don't get grittier. You know, and then it's just like you're making it harder on yourself, and you know, you've got to take those lumps to get better and to get stronger and to, you know, mentally, physically, and to, you know, achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. You know, so absolutely, you know, and
that word gritty a few times when actually I was coming out, I was like, what am I going to name this thing? What am I going to name this thing? I remember I was driving around the car and I was like, they got to know that it's going to be hard to succeed, and it's going to be gritty. oh man, you know, it was just like all came to me. And I really liked the movie True Grit when I was a kid. So I was like, that's what we're going to name it. We're name it Grit Gym. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. I like it.
I don't get to use the word gritty very often. So
yeah.
So I've heard you say it a couple times. So I liked it.
Yeah. Use it more, man. Use it more. Yeah. I mean,
you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
You know what? Yeah. I can
Guys,
hear
I think we might have lost Tony. Maybe.
Can
I
you
don't
hear
know.
me?
Let me check on Facebook real quick. Lose connection every now and then. Looks like we had a couple comments.
So I can hear you.
Let me read into these. Aaron, this too bad that yes to all of this. Guys, let me know if you guys can hear me. Write down in the comments below and let me know if you can hear me. I won't know for 45 seconds, but Tony's on some great stuff. Let's see. Emily wrote, you permit what you promote. We have to teach the younger generation to be healthy. It's a great thing for parents to work out. Oh yeah. Yeah, your example to the world is exactly that. That is exactly what I was referring to back then. I think Tony agrees with that also. Very, very smart guy. Oh no, I think we may have lost Tony. Let me know if you guys can hear me on here. I think that I'm off.
Hey, can you? I'm here. I'm here. And
Tony, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me now? Can you hear? Yeah, no. I can hear you and I can see you, and you were frozen, and now you're not. Let me get on here.
Uh-oh. I think we got cut off. We're about at, what is going on? Facebook, work with me. What is going on here? We just Tony, you all by yourself, man? I'm sorry. I'm gonna end the broadcast here.
Let me. So. All right.